Good day and welcome to the Companial webinar, The Anatomy of Managed Services. My name is Agne and my colleague Rimvidas will unfold the managed services topic today. We are calling in from Vilnius, capital of Lithuania. We have 23 degrees outside. It's really nice and warm, and I hope that it is warm on your side as well. This webinar is hosted by the Companial. And Companial unites more than 1,000 Dynamics partners from all across the globe. We are with more than 250 employees with 2,000 plus years of Dynamics experience altogether combined, bringing more than 1,500 customers on Azure and serving them. Have extensive experience in development area, serving a number of ISVs in the marketplace, and helping with Business Central and finance and supply chain management upgrades. Besides that, we help distribute licenses of the Dynamics in the on-prem world, but as well in the cloud as being indirect CSP provider. As well, we are granted the nomination of Microsoft ISV Development Center, helping Dynamics partners to bring their solutions into the cloud and further develop them. And as well, we are a member of the Partners Advisory Council with Microsoft. So we see ourselves as the ambassadors for Dynamics partner community, and once in a while, we are bringing relevant topics to the community. So why we are talking about managed services, right? Most probably many of you have seen the year here of the margin slide before and experienced that in your P&Ls. So we all know that the product resale has significantly lower margins than packaged IP, and project services is usually part of our bread and butter. But managed services are somehow mystical, right? So we thought that we'll host a topic around the managed services, and we'll dive into the details around that to have more transparency and share ideas on how you could grow business within that area. So what we have on the agenda today. First of all, we will look into the foundation of the managed services, the context, the model, the nature of the service itself, capabilities, and associated KPIs with the service. Secondly, we'll share some of the managed services examples that we as Companial are delivering ourselves. And last but not least, Rimvidas will dive into the topic of managed service and analyze a practical example of the hosting Business Central on Azure as a managed service. So let us dive into the foundation of the managed services. So first of all, we have a really nice context in which we are growing the managed services. So first of all, we have a motion that is happening around the globe where customers are searching for the opportunities to move their cost into operational expenses rather than capital cost. They would like to limit complexities. They would like to have scalability, and customer centricity and self-service is as well part of that overall motion. In addition to that, our customers are always looking for the way to grow their business, to streamline operations, to increase productivity, to control costs, right? To improve security. So kind of looking for a level of the service. And of course, there is a role of ours, Dynamics partners within the channel, right? Where we are here to help our customers on their journey towards the cloud, from the perspective of moving their on-prem solutions to the cloud or setting up their cloud solutions, and as well to ensure that they are up and running. And as soon as we are on the cloud, right? We need to realize that it provides a bundle of a solution that is always being updated. And to release those updates, there is, as well as to run the solution, there is a need of professional services that should be supported and that should be operated, right? So this kind of provides the natural background for our customers to get used for an ongoing maintenance and an ongoing support in addition to the cloud solution that is providing an excellent basis to deliver the managed services to our customers. So the model is rather straightforward. There is a customer, right? There is a provider like Microsoft partners, and then there is a service relationship backed up by the service level agreement, right? So what is customers looking for? Customer, of course, is looking to outsource certain processes, to remove complexities from their operations, and to have a better return of investment. What is the motivation of the provider to be part of the model of the managed services, right? So first of all, to offer the proactive outsourced approach so that the provider can stand out from the market and deliver a value to their customers, right? So that is rather straightforward. Both customer and provider are motivated to have a service relationship. So when we are talking about the managed services, let us think about the nature of the service itself, right? Of course, first of all, that is an outsourced function, right? Some kind of function that is being outsourced, so that budget could be lower as the one that is outsourcing the function receives a better quality, better experience, most probably better pricing because of the scale, right? And then of the day has less complexity and better return of investment. At the same time, the nature of the managed services is that it is usually not a single standalone piece of the service, but rather an agreement to support end-to-end solution, right? Meaning that it should enable some kind of the innovation while at the same time making sure that solutions are up and running, right? So we could have reactive support, on issues that are happening, proactive support, preventing things from happening because we identify the cause and solve the issue before customer even notice, right? But as well, that could include strategy, service design, and kind of transition from one service level to the other, like, for example, from on-prem solution to the cloud, right? When we are thinking about designing managed services and offering it to our potential customers, right, we need to think that, first of all, that should be a standardized service that we could scale, repeatedly deliver, right? So, and usually the services are complex. So we are thinking about the standard service catalog, where we could take bits and pieces to make a solution of the managed service relevant to our customer. To make sure that we have a profitability piece in place, that is, of course, very relevant. We need, of course, the scale, but in addition to that, we need to ensure automation and enable piece of the self-service through the digital delivery platform for our customers, right? To achieve that, usually organizations need to have a formal R&D investment into the managed service, because without the formal kind of approval and formal strategic support within the organization to develop managed services, as such, we see little perfect examples in the market. The other very important aspect that we need to have as a capability in our organizations when we are designing and delivering managed services is to the retention of our customers, right? Usually, managed service is something as a subscription where you can join and you can leave. So therefore, the retention is of a supreme importance, making sure that our customers enjoy the service, they are satisfied with the service that we are delivering, they have communication channels to share their feedback, and they stay and continue using our service because they like our service or they believe that we will improve the service in the future. And when we are talking about the managed services, right, there is not a one buyer persona and one service recipient within our customer organization, but rather we need to think about the complexities and significant stakeholder management piece as an element of the service that we are about to deliver or that we are delivering currently. Another element to think about the managed service is that it has a nature of a long-term service, meaning that we are not only monitoring, operating, optimizing, and then later on transforming, right, our customers, but we have a piece of the onboarding into the managed service of the customer. And in case our relationship is fading, we need to offboard the customer from the service. And that is essential piece of any services that we are designing, that we are delivering to the customer. And we need to secure ourselves, making sure that customer is well aware that piece of the onboarding and especially piece of the offboarding is billable piece of our services, and there is a price tag attached to the service like that. An interesting question is usually, so when are we doing good with the managed service, right? On an earlier slide, I've shared a 45% of margin as an area for the managed services. Here I do have numbers from the managed services benchmark study performed by TSI in Q2 2022. And they identified the benchmark of growth is somewhere around 23%. Operating income is somewhere at 10%, and retention is somewhere at 89%. So if you are thinking about your own organization and where you are with growth, profitability, and the retention piece, you could use it as a benchmark. And if you are above it, you can think that you are moving towards the right direction. But if you are below these numbers, then maybe you need to reconsider things that you have currently available. When we are thinking about the managed service, the very important piece is sustainable scale, so that we can add sustainably customers to the service and ensure the quality of the service continues to be delivered and satisfaction of the service continues to be experienced by our customers. Right? So for that, we need to make sure that there is a value in the service, that it is standardized, and that we have digital means of service delivery. Growth piece, right, is another important element, and we might think about looking into recurring revenue growth rate as a measure, right? But equally, we could look into the top line recurring revenue growth rate as well, right? We can look into the base revenue expansion rate and other elements, but I think the most important thing that we define for ourselves the element, at least one element, how we will measure the growth within our organization, and constantly track and adjust to make sure that we are growing here. because the only way to be profitable is through the scale. This means that we need definitely to grow. When thinking about the profitability, sometimes it is better to think not only about the gross margin, but about the net operating income, right? And when we are talking about the retention, recurring revenue retention rate we could look into, or we could look into the contract renewal rate, right? The contract that renews, we count as plus, and the contract that was not renewed, we count as a minus, and any new contract that is added is not calculated into the retention rate, right? So let me share a few service examples that we have within the Companial for an inspiration on how you can think about the designing managed services for your customers. So first of all, let me introduce Companial memberships, right? Companial is as an direct CSP provider. We want to make sure that, and we are serving Dynamics partners in the market with licensing, with technical training, and all kinds of other services, right? And we wanted to build a relationship that ensures the long-term success for the Dynamics partners. And we call that relationship Companion memberships, right? The service itself, it includes support, licensing support, technical support, but as well business growth support that is being delivered by the partner success managers from Companion. Another piece of the membership services is news and events, making sure that the news is content with an updates on what is happening with Microsoft programs, licensing updates that are relevant only to the Dynamics area, right? And community is another big and important element of the work that Companion is doing. So we are hosting local events for the partners to get together, to network, etc. Right? So that is as well part of the service. You can see that so far these elements are very one-to-one, right? Access to one-on-one expertise, access to one-on-one advisory, access to the community. So these are in-person elements of the service. The automation that we have within the Companion memberships is through tooling that is available to order and supply licensing services. And as well, there is an access to the technical services, readiness services, and all other services that Companion is providing. Right? We've started the service since 2013, and today are uniting a significant network of the partners, the largest Dynamics community in the world, right? The membership fees are starting at 260 euros per month, and they are growing. We are investing part of these fees back into the Companion members so that they could utilize services to help their business grow. You can think about this model and think if you could replicate that to your customer community. And with that, let me move to another service, the learning journeys for Dynamics 365 Business Central. Companion used to have a significant basis of the training services. So we used to be and still are training partner to make sure that in the area of the Dynamics, talent is trained up to speed with capabilities from the technical part, but as well through the sales, marketing, all across the Dynamics and Power Platform, right? Having that knowledge in place, we designed a learning journey that facilitates the onboarding, learning, and personal development of the Business Central developers and consultants. It is a natural part of the talent management cycle within any organization that is in the partner channel, right? So it helps to better position partner to attract talent and recruit. It helps with the onboarding, retention, development pieces of talent. It is all based by the Business Central Booster program that is constantly updated with the new releases that are available within the product, right? And that is delivered as a journey for any representative that is related to the Business Central in the role of the development or consultancy to make sure that that person has a personal development plan and growth. We've released this service this year and are delivering it as a fixed fee per seat per month with an annual commitment. The pricing differs depending on the scope of the users that are attached to the service. So you can see that price differs almost 4 times, whether someone is looking only to the 1 seat or to 40 seats associated with the service consumptions. The key cost is, of course, into making sure that e-learning, but as well the progress management platform is in place. The e-learning platform we kind of had from our experience on the training deliveries from the past, but the progress management platform that would enable HR managers within the partner organization to track the progress of their own people, kind of manage who is getting the seat, reallocating the seats, and assigning those seats was something that we needed to make a significant investment. And another piece of the investment that we oversee is in the content, because when we are talking about achieving certain certification, right, that is one piece of the content. Good day. I hope you've heard some, because I feel that I was out of the meeting for a minute, right? So I'm happy to be back with you. I hope that I've introduced learning journeys and that you've had an opportunity to listen through them. And let me move to the next topic of the managed service that includes level 2 ticket intake, right? So for the Dynamics 365, we see that the environment is changing. And of course, it is important to keep up with that always changing environment, right? So therefore, we kind of designed the service that is supporting certain elements. Good day. I see there is something very wrong with this connection. I can still see you, Rimvidas.
Yes, you are back, Agne. You were out for like 5 seconds and you have disconnected, but you're back. At least I can hear you, and I hope our participants can hear you as well.
Okay. And at which point in time I've disconnected?
Yeah, on this slide. Yeah.
On this slide. Okay. Thank you very much, Rimvidas, for securing the space. Right. So what we've created, and what kind of service we are providing towards the partners. So sometimes the support question as such is rather important, and partners are lacking capacity to make sure that these are things ensured smoothly and in place with relevant competency behind, right? So one thing is we are looking in serving proactively, right? That is mainly related to checking for the updates, testing that update is in place, and making sure that solutions are ready for the updates, right? Then we do have a ticket handling, right? The usual ticket handling that is related to requests that were not solved by the first level of the ticket handling and requires certain additional experience. And the third element of the service is planned services, where you can think about certain modifications or implementations or rollouts that need to happen that are planned upfront and delivered within the agreed timelines. We are delivering the service since 2022 on behalf of the partners to the air and customers. We are pricing the service with a fixed fee per every section of the service, and are flexible to offer additional services that are kind of not planned and not maintained on an additional time and material setup. Another element or fraction of this kind of service is extension maintenance for Dynamics 365 Business Central, right? So to ensure that capabilities are available with the latest Business Central release at a predictable cost for the customer. So what Companial is performing, we are looking into the upcoming release, ensuring testing is in place and executed, technical errors are resolved, and if there is certain risk for the business process not to continue, we hand that over to the partner to look into. And we do have a service that is related to the Business Central hosting on Microsoft Azure. And I'd like to invite Rimvydas, who is leading the service in Companial, to walk us through the service and behind the scenes on how we developed the service, why we developed the service, and how we are delivering the service. So Rimvydas, floor is yours.
Yeah. Thanks, Agne. Yeah, my name is Rimvydas Saulis. I'm leading cloud business line at Companial, one of the business lines that we have here. So Agne, thanks to Agne, she basically set up the framework and gave us the explanation what should the proper managed service should include, and shared some of the examples which we as a company, as a Companial, are offering from our side for your inspiration. And now I'll probably dig a little bit deeper into the service that I'm responsible of. So Dynamics 365 Business Central hosting on Azure. Don't worry, I will not go into nitty-gritty details of that service. It's more of showing you the what we do here, and basically what was the thinking from the customer perspective, why we have created this kind of a service, and how the service basically complements the other services that we have in our company. So if in short, now what is this, our service, Business Central hosting on Azure? We'll basically give an option to the customers around the world who are not able to migrate to Microsoft Business Central Online SaaS service. So we give them an option to use the, let's say, hybrid cloud configuration or type of the service. So, well, we have created the service in 2015. So you can imagine the market-wise and the offering-wise was pretty different than it is now. So we have to develop, we have to change our service pretty much every day. Now it's being used by 160 partners and more than 1,500 customers around the world. So of course, when we started, we were not even close to those numbers. And probably the ROI of our service have started when we reach probably 100 or a couple of hundred installations on our platform. So we provide a lot of functionality for our partners who use our platform. So basically the things that Agne has mentioned, like reducing complexity, This is the biggest value that we provide to our customers, and we ensure the SLA. We ensure SLA not only about the virtual machines that run behind the Business Central, but we ensure the SLA of Business Central itself of 99.9%. Obviously, nothing in cloud could run without proper security setup. So we have ISO 27001 certification on our service. And I'll talk a little bit about that a bit later, but as a part of our simplicity offering, we want to offer very simple pricing per user per month without any fluctuations depending on the server size, disk size, RAM size, and so on. And we basically bridge that gap of support of Dynamics on Azure. You can find in the market a lot of Azure experts. You can find in the market a lot of Dynamics experts, but sometimes it's necessary to bridge that gap between Dynamics and Azure and the cloud and infrastructure to make it even more compelling to the partners. So how do we manage this complexity, right? So when we talk about managed services, right, in a nutshell, in most of the cases, your customer or your partner can pretty much, in most of the cases, they can do it themselves, right? Whether it is some ticket intake or some upgrades, what Agne has shared, or in our case, if it's hosting on Azure, in most of the cases, they can do it themselves, but sometimes it's just too complicated, right? So for the partner, for the customer, they don't really want to be an expert in this or that area, and they want to just get it done, just make it working without spending too much of the nights or too much of a headache, managing this complexity. So in our case, what we provide with this service as a complexity, I would say, downsizing the complexity. Obviously, we provide the proactive support, so the monitoring, alerts, notifications, health checks. So basically, the things that ensure that our SLA is reached of 99.9%, and probably helps our customers to have a better night's sleep, knowing that somebody behind the scenes is basically making sure that that somebody is making sure that the technology and the Business Central is up and running. Then obviously, as I mentioned, managing complexity involves managing different technologies. So in our case, it's Azure technologies, infrastructure technologies, in combination with Business Central and surrounded with all the security and monitoring and disaster recovery technologies that we have. So again, partners can have many of those experts, but for those Dynamics partners who doesn't want to have such an expertise, they want to find basically who can take care of that, and that's basically our value as a managed services. Obviously, the system should be running at desired level of performance, which in itself requires a lot of tuning and monitoring and management. So definitely we manage that complexity level as such. And as I mentioned, security is a must, is a no-brainer, so to say, in cloud services. So the security assessments and the certifications is something that we help to manage on the behalf of the customer. So at the end of the day, our partners who are our customers in that sense, they don't have to worry much about the things that they don't want to worry. They basically give the responsibility to us, and we, for a certain fee, basically relieving them of such a headache. The other, I would say, crucial part of the managed services, of any managed service, is accelerating return on investment. As I mentioned previously, in most of the cases, your customers and partners can do it themselves. If they're not afraid about complexity, they sometimes can be sort of doubtful about whether it is worth for them to invest and to wait for ROI, right? So again, in our case, it took years of investment and the years of to building customer base to make this business line profitable. Well, once we reach that, and then obviously this investment started to pay off. We definitely were not sure whether it would pay off at the day one or year one. We were committed to develop this service and committed to provide it to our customers. And from our customers' point of view, they could have done it themselves, but obviously they had the same question whether it makes them worth to invest into that, to invest their capital in investment, to invest into the competences, and to get the ROI. In our case, now one of the, I would say, ROI simplification that we provide for our partners is making sure that our services are priced per certain criteria. In our case, per user per month. And from the partner's point of view, that's all they want to know. They don't want to know how much it would cost based on different other criteria, like server size, disk size, database size, traffic in and out of data center, and so on. So that's how we accelerate the ROI of our partners. Now, what in terms of pricing and packaging, definitely, every managed service can have its own pricing policies. In our case, we have like one, I would say, hero pricing, which is per user per month, as I said, irrespective of anything else. So that's our hero offering, with probably 90% of our customers are choosing. The ones who are a little bit more picky, they want this and that customized, they want the service adjusted, and this resource to be increased. They just obviously additionals and exceptions for this model, but at the essence, they pay a flat fee per user per month, and some variable things are priced extra. Again, it's good idea to think whether you want like a prepayment or you want the pay-as-you-go, or whether you want a mix of that. All is possible. Again, in our case, it's also a mix. It's both prepaid and pay-as-you-go type of the services. So for the managed services, it's a good idea to have different pricing models, having one hero pricing model, and then the additionals as pay-as-you-go as an exception basis. Okay, so now a little bit of the thinking, how we were thinking these managed services. In our case, how would they, meet the customer needs in the market, and what value they could provide to our customers. So in a nutshell, we have a situation. We had and still have the situation. Let's imagine that the customer is having the on-premise version of Business Central, and they want to move to cloud. So say if we listen to our dear friends in Microsoft, you either move to cloud or there's nothing to talk about with you anymore, right? So it seems that moving to cloud is it's pretty obvious. You just move to cloud, just upgrade to your current solution to the latest cloud solution, or you do the clean start, and yep, you are in the cloud. Well, the reality is a little bit different. So in reality, the huge install base, approximately of 70% of the Business Central, are not that fast to migrate to cloud, right? They have a lot of reasons. Maybe it's hard to migrate, you have to upgrade. Maybe they don't still trust the cloud. Maybe they have some technical issues to migrate to cloud. Whether the ROI for them in cloud is not really convincing. And frankly speaking, in many of the cases, the Dynamics partners are not that enthusiastic to move to cloud, although it seems the cloud is everywhere. It's a no-brainer. You have to move to cloud. So in such a case with those 70% of the customers, so how can you basically retain the recurring relationship, sell some additional services, or whether you want to forget about that? So forgetting the customer, letting it go, offboarding is always an option. But if you don't want really to follow that option, you still want to basically serve those 70% of the customers, then you have to think of what additional value add in the terms of in the context of cloud. In our case, you could provide. So what you can do about it. So that was our thinking when we were then we were basically thinking about the opportunity and the value add that we could provide to the market. So in a nutshell, if we mix theory and practice, when you have the customer base, which you are not really sure what to do about, you still want to maintain, or if you didn't have, even the build recurring relationship, right? So recurring relationship is always a good thing, and is a key for the future success. The second one, how could you increase your own value and relevancy to those customers who seem to be stuck on the old technology, don't really want to move to cloud? And so what can you do with them? So in that case, we thought that maybe we could offer some alternatives, some step-by-step way for those customers to move to cloud. So in this case, we have basically offering them to move to the hosted cloud and then move to Azure cloud where it makes sense. Not always makes sense, but in some cases it makes sense. For those customers who are not that trusting the cloud, so well, our partners, they become a trusted advisors in that sense for their customers. They prepare those customers for the life in cloud. They prepare those customers to pay for the monthly fees, to have no infrastructure cost, to have no managed services from the partner. And in that sense, well, the partners, they can have a bigger wallet share of the partner. And then at the end of the day, selling one managed services, when we see from our practice, can open up the opportunities for additional managed services to sell to those, again, to those customers. Yeah. So how I talked about the theory, managing complexity and accelerating ROI. So in our case, it's pretty obvious. We help customers to start using cloud right from the day one. They don't need to invest into their competencies, maybe not the hardware, but at least the competencies in infrastructure, Azure security. We help to make upgrades a little bit, I wouldn't say easier, but I would say not that frequent. You still need to upgrade to be on the latest technologies, but maybe not every month, maybe not every half a year, maybe once a year or twice a year is enough for them. And then we probably help those customers to migrate to BC Online sooner or later. We help to have those recurring relationship with the customer that are still stuck on some maybe older versions. So when we sell our managed service of hosting on Azure, it opens up another opportunities for us. So it opens up to provide the evergreening feature, so to say, the extension maintenance offering that Agne was showing. So for those customers who doesn't really want to basically worry about the upgrades, they can subscribe for this extension maintenance service. Then if the partner needs help dealing with the end customers from end to end, then we can offer another managed services like ticket intake and some proactive proactive services that Agne was showing once again. And third, last but not least, the membership plans that we provide to our partners is yet again additional value add that brings additional value to our partners. So I believe we shared a lot of examples with Agne about the managed services, and there's a lot of theory, what it takes to build a good managed service, and what kind of examples you could provide, what to think of, and there are like multiple things that you have to think of. And we talked with some of the partners, they find it a little bit, how shall I say, a little bit overwhelming. I mean, there's so much information about this, and there's so much opportunity about that, and you have to think about pricing, about investment, and about the ROI, and about many other things. So one call to action we always have to our partners is that try not to reinvent the wheel, right? So we are the community of the Dynamics partners. There are a lot of different competencies within the channel. it's not necessary always to compete. In many cases, there's a lot of collaboration opportunities. So if you're not feeling comfortable in areas that you don't want to invest, try to find a partner, focus on your competency, and provide those additional services, either managed services, in partnership with somebody. You see, Companial could be one example of partners, but I'm sure there are many others. So one call to action is not basically to overwhelm yourself. If you have an idea, obviously that's great. If you think that it makes sense for you to partner with somebody to create those managed services, that's perfectly fine as well. So I guess with that, I'm coming to the end of this webinar. As you can see, we are Companial. You could get in touch with the regional offices that we have in many countries. And Agne, we have anything else to ask our partners today at this call?
Yes, my colleague will start a poll. So if you would like a follow-up call with Companions, please let us know. And in the chat, we are looking forward to your questions, feedback, whether you agree with the ideas we shared with Rimvydas today or not, maybe your view on how you look into the managed services. The setup where we are hosting this webinar is not allowing to unmute yourself and to express your opinion loud. So therefore, we invite you to put down your questions or feedback in the chat. And while we are waiting for questions from the chat, Rimvydas, what do you think someone needs to be cautious about when thinking about delivering managed service?
It's probably that's a good question, and believe me, guys, no, this is not a pre-rehearsed question that Agne asked me, but in a nutshell, what we advise to the partners is to think about your core competence, right? So if you are confident in one competence and you're not feeling confident in another, and you have some doubts whether to invest into that company, think first about, again, I'm repeating myself, about the partnerships, right? So that's probably my most important, call to action, to think about partnerships and open up your horizons, not only about competing with other partners in Dynamics world, but about partnering them as well.